Welcome on in, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 62 for season 2025, and this is our AFL Round 24 review episode for all of Round 24, except for the one game that is remaining. It will be Gold Coast v the Bombers on Wednesday night. That will be the final game of the season. So we will be reviewing all the games but that one in today's episode. If you're new around here, welcome on in. If you're returning, welcome back. Hope you enjoy. We do 2 episodes a week here at All Aussie Rules. We do the Monday episode every week is our review of the men's. Well, actually, it's just the men's episode now. We just focus on men's AFL on Mondays, and on Thursdays we focus in on the AFLW. That will be the case all the way through until December. We will be doing 2 episodes every single week. So sit back, enjoy. We've got lots to get through. A little bit different this week as there's still one more game to go. That game will be reviewed in next Monday's episode, which will also be a preview of all 4 Week 1 finals of the 2025 men's season. So that's coming up next Monday's episode. What else do we need to go through? Also, worth noting that our leaderboards for Brownlow and MVP and stuff like that won't be released until next Monday's episode. There won't be leaderboard update this week. As there's one game to go, we might as well just leave it until that game is done to wrap it up. And then we will also, if you're not on the YouTube channel right now, this does go live in multiple platforms. But on the YouTube channel, we will be doing a special Wednesday video this week, which will be focusing in on our all AFL team, so all Australian team. We do a first and second team, so they will both be released on Wednesday on the YouTube channel. So go check them out. Go hit the subscribe button, follow on all the socials, you know the gist. Get it all done. We're going to be focusing in on all of that coming up. Let's jump into, I guess, round 24, because that's what we're doing here. Before we do that, just in the last 15 minutes before I started recording, we have Week 1 fixtures for the finals getting released. Obviously, we don't know the exact prospects yet. We will go through all the permutations at the end of the episode. But the 2 qualifying finals are official. Adelaide Collingwood, 1st v 4th. That will be at Adelaide Oval on Thursday night on the September the 4th. So a week and a little bit away. Friday night will be the other qualifying final. That will be Geelong v Brisbane at the MCG, the only Melbourne final in week 1 of the finals. Then the 2 elimination finals will be GWS Sydney, GWS Giants hosting either Hawthorn, Gold Coast or the Bulldogs. That will be at NG Stadium. That will be on the Saturday, time to be confirmed. And the other elimination final will be Fremantle hosting either Hawthorn or Gold Coast at Optus Stadium. Once again, time to be determined once the final game has wrapped up and we know exactly who will be playing who. We obviously have some ideas on what is likely to happen. We'll run through that at the end of this episode, so stick around. Let's jump into Week 1's action. Week 1? Week 24, round 24. All the matches from the weekend. We started on Thursday night. I went to this game. It was the Bombers Carlton. It was at the MCG, and the Blues won it by 34 points in the end. I won't say super comfortable, but it was pretty much, throughout most of the game, pretty obvious who was going to win this game. The Bombers kicked the first, and then Carlton kind of took over. They led by 5 goals at halftime, 6 goals at three-quarter time, ended up winning by 34 points. The one good patch that probably the Bombers had, actually at the start of the third and fourth quarters, were both good patches. They kicked the first 2 of the third quarter through Guelphy and Langford in the third quarter, and then Kako got a couple to start the fourth, and then Peter Wright got the next one. So they did have a couple little good patches, but throughout most of the day, Carlton did really kind of control this game. you look at the team rating, they were a 47.81, Essendon a 43.06. So plus 4.5 points for Carlton it's not terrible, it's not great. Compared to their numbers against lower ranked teams this year, it's a little bit below what they have been doing. The Bombers, pretty solid result. I mean, their season has to go one more game, unfortunately for them. It's just where they're at the moment with their injuries, with the way their season's gone. They're just kind of treading water, I guess. Carlton finished their season on a high, so they'll be relatively happy with that side of things. Obviously, it's been a bit of a disappointing season for them throughout, but it could have been a lot worse. Let's be fair. Also worth noting, a little bit of an interesting situation with TDK. Certainly looks like he's probably going to be leaving Carlton based on the footage in the rooms after the game, but we'll see how that plays out over coming weeks. Obviously, all your news, come back here, check out the socials, you name it, we got it. We will try and bring you the best coverage that we can. Jumping into this game, the team stats, that's where we usually kick things off. And it was a game where disposal numbers were pretty even across the board. Both teams had very similar disposal efficiency, which was quite high numbers, both over 77%, which is reasonably unusual. Inside 50s plus 19 for Carlton, so they certainly dominated the territory battle. They dominated the inside 50 count. They also won both intercepts and clearance game. If you win both of those areas of a game of football, most times you are going to win. They had 25 to 18 shots for the match. They were certainly the better team on the night. Most of the season, they probably have been the better team of these two teams, so it's not all that surprising. Their transition play was certainly a lot better. Their numbers were quite a bit higher than the Bombers across the board. Scoring from stoppages, plus 13 for Carlton. Even though they were plus 9 clearances, 13 points is probably not quite enough of a discrepancy there, but I mean, it's still a positive. Turnovers, 51 to 33 in scoring. Once again, they only just won the intercept game, but outscored them quite comfortably. Defensive half scoring, both teams scored quite well from the defensive half, 47 to 40. So transition wasn't the hardest thing in this game. It was a weird sort of game, I guess. Forward half scoring, though, is where Carlton did the damage, 30 to 9, so plus 21 in forward half scoring. That's the major difference, I think, in this game. While Carlton did win across the board, the forward half is where they probably did the most damage in comparison to the opposition. Like, Bombers only scored 9 points from forward half in a whole game of football. It's not much. It's a very low return, that. So they just weren't causing turnovers in Essendon's forward half, and that's the big issue, I think, that the Bombers had in this one. Moving into some teams, individual stats, Brownlow votes, we're going George Hewitt 3, Francis Evans 2, Mason Redman 1 vote. MVP for the winning team. If you're new around here, we do top 5 players for each team in our All Aussie Rules rating system. Get votes each and every week, 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 to the top 5 from the winning team. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 5 of the losing team. For Carlton, best highest rated player, Francis Evans. He gets the 10 votes. He had 19 touches in this one, a couple clearances, kicked 3 goals, had a really good return. One of his better games, if not his best game. His recent form has been outstanding, in all honesty. His last few games have all been very, very good. George Hewitt gets the 8. You'd have to think he's very, very close to their best and fairest winner in Carlton land this year. He had another 36 touches in this game, 10 clearances, kicked a goal, really good return. Paddy Cripps, he gets the 6 votes. Down on last year's numbers, still a solid finish to his season, 28 touches. Jacob Wiedering just did the job all day down back, absolutely dominated that role. 13 disposals, 10 intercepts, 9 marks, 7 intercept marks. So absolutely just shut down the Bombers' attacks all day long. Jesse Mottler, he gets the 2 votes for Carlton in this one. He kicked a goal. He had 22 disposals, couple clearances. He played his role really well. He was certainly everywhere throughout most of the game for the losing team and the Essendon Bombers. Zach Merritt in game number 250. He had 24 disposals. Spent a lot of time forward in this. Only had 20% centre bounce attendance for the match. But still had 24 touches. Was Essendon's best player in terms of the rating system. Even though he spent a lot of time forward with that broken hand. Mason Redmond, he was Essendon's biggest ball winner, 34 touches, 8 intercepts, 9 marks. Played another good game. He's had a lot of the football over recent weeks. Andy McGrath gets the 3 votes for the Bombers. He had 30 touches as well, 11 of those contested. Archie Perkins apparently gets the 2, not Archie Roberts. I almost confused myself just for a second there. I hope I wrote down the wrong one, the right one. Sorry. Easy enough to tell. Let me just get the right game. I'm assuming I did. It'd be very weird if I didn't. What am I looking for? That one. No, it's definitely Archie Roberts. So I definitely wrote the wrong name there. I was going to say I didn't think Archie Perkins did that much. Archie Perkins was ranked 19th on the field. Archie Roberts was ranked 7th. So excuse my incompetence there. I'll have to fix that one up. But Archie Roberts gets the 2 votes. He had 28 disposals in this game. He had plenty of it. 3 clearances. He also had 20% centre bounce attendance. So maybe looking at him potentially getting more midfield time next year. Potentially. Might be a good thing for him. We'll see. And Dylan Shield, he gets the 1 vote. He had 30 touches in this game as well. So plenty of Dons had plenty of the football. But they just weren't good enough in the end. They have to front up to Gold Coast next week. So that's going to be an interesting one. Gold Coast need to win to play finals. And you'd have to think that the Bombers won't care too much. But we'll see how that plays out. Carlton, their season is officially wrapped. They can go into off-season and see what they can do because there's a lot of rumours around who's staying, who's going. It's going to be an interesting off-season for the Blues. Can they bounce back is an important question that I guess they will have to answer. We'll find out soon enough. But we'll jump into the next game. It was 2 games on Friday night, so we'll start with the Collingwood-Melbourne game. This is another one that I went to, and she was a nail-biter. Absolute nail-biter. Both Friday night games were absolute crackers. It was a weird sort of game, this one. Collingwood kicked the first couple and looked really in control early. Throughout most of the first half, they looked like they were the better team. Some poor kicking in front of goal certainly was hurting them. They kicked 6-10 at half-time to lead by 13 points. Second half, they certainly kicked better, 5-6 for the second half. And the Demons started to kick a little bit inaccurately. They kicked 6 goals, 7, in the second half. So it was a weird sort of game. Collingwood up by 13 at half time before Melbourne kicked the first 4 of the third quarter. I've lost the plot. Kicked the first 4 of the third quarter through Bailey Fritsch. Cozzy Pickett kicked a ripper. Harvey Langford also got one from 50 metres out off no steps. Was an absolute cracking goal. Crisp got a goal just before, or a couple minutes before 3/4 time, just to steady it a little bit. But then Jake Melksham got one straight back, and it looked like it was not over, but Melbourne up 10 points at 3/4 time. And then when they kicked the first through Petrarca in the 4th quarter, it looked like Melbourne might be spoiling Collingwood's top 4 aspirations. But then Collingwood football took over. Melbourne obviously did not kick very straight in that last quarter. They kicked 1 goal 5 in the final quarter to Collingwood's 4-3. But Collingwood kicked the last 4 goals of the game. Ned Long bounced one through. Jamie Elliott kicked a goal. Lockie Schultz got a goal to put them just in front. And then Dan McStay Gave them the break they needed to win by 6 points in the end. It was a game of ebbs and flows, as you can see in the team ratings. Basically, both teams dead level. Collingwood 44.39. Melbourne slightly ahead of that, a 44.94. It was a weird game because Collingwood dominated the stat sheet, I think, in the first half, whereas Melbourne dominated it more in the second half. Big news from the game, Jeremy Howe. He's out for 3 weeks with a groin issue. That's a big blow for Collingwood. They certainly look a better team with him out on the park. We'll jump into some of the team stats in this game. The important numbers behind the Collingwood win. Demons ended up plus 50 disposals in this game, so they certainly had a lot more of the ball. They even had plus 3 inside 50s in the end after Collingwood dominated that area early. But Collingwood did have it in their forward half a lot, 54.4%, but they just weren't converting it into too many opportunities, I don't think. Contested football dominated by Melbourne here, plus 27. Maybe a concern for Collingwood, maybe not, we'll see. Melbourne dominated the clearance game, plus 12, whereas Collingwood did what they have done best most of the year, which was the intercept game, plus 10. Shots, Collingwood had an extra 6 shots in this game, so that suggests that they probably should have won. They certainly, from their inside 50s, created opportunities. They just didn't do a great job at converting them. Just 11 goals from 28 shots is not great return. Other things to look at in this numbers game, Collingwood across the board pretty much transitioned the ball a lot better than Melbourne. Across, basically transitioned it better, but maybe didn't score too well from it. Scoring from stoppages, obviously Melbourne won that. They dominated the clearances throughout the game, plus 22 they went from stoppage. Collingwood dominated from turnover, which is what their game is. They won that area by 29. Collingwood's was all forward half. Melbourne scoring was all defensive half. Melbourne plus 13 defensive half scoring. Collingwood plus 31 forward half scoring. So that's your difference, really. Scoring from centre bounce as well, 0-3 for Collingwood, 2 goals, 3 for Melbourne. But overall, a game that could have gone either way in the end, just nudges the way of the Demons, is how it wraps up. Brownlow votes for this one. There's about 18 different players out there. I don't think anyone was massively standing out as the clear best on ground. I've given 3 to Jordan De Goey because I think he was just crucial in crucial moments of this game. He ended up with 26 touches, kicked a goal from 50, an important goal for them as well. He had 6 clearances. I think he was the best on ground in terms of most influential. Umpires will have noticed him. 2 votes I've given to Petrarca. He had 28 touches and a goal, as well as 6 clearances. He was really good. 1, I've given it to Nick Dacos. I don't know if he'll get it, but the umpires do tend to like him. He had 27 touches, 12 of those contested. He had 6 inside 50s, 5 clearances. So potentially he's in the conversation, as is Max Gawn, as Max Gawn usually is. Harvey Langford was very good. Maybe his best game of his career so far. Obviously, this is his first season. So maybe Christian Salem even is in that discussion. Jack Crisp, Scott Pendlebury, both had important roles. I don't think they had massive ball-winning games, so I don't know if they will get votes. For the MVP, we haven't gone, but the highest rated player was Scott Pendlebury for Collingwood. He had a really influential game in this one, especially late. He had 21 touches, 6 intercepts, 2 clearances. Was a kick behind the ball for a big chunk of that last quarter, played a good role. Jack Crisp, he had 18 touches, got a chase down tackle for a goal as well, which was very crucial at the time. Jordan De Goey, we've already gone through his numbers. He gets 6 votes. He was outstanding. Nick Dacos gets the 4. And Dan Houston, he gets the 2 in this one, 22 touches. Played a good game. Billy Frampton, a little bit unlucky, in all honesty, to not get in the votes. He was very good in this game. 90 intercepts, 6 of those intercept marks. He was really good throughout this game, I thought. For the losing team, 5 votes goes to Harvey Langford. As we said, he was Possibly his best game so far in AFL level. 26 touches, kicked a goal from 50, 5 intercepts, 2 clearances, 10 contested possessions. He did a lot in this game. He's going to be a really good player in the future. Max Gawn, he gets the 4 votes. 14 contested possessions from his 23 disposals, 6 intercepts, 3 clearances. He was really good down the line all day long for Melbourne. Christian Salem, he gets the 3 votes, 27 touches in this one, played a good game. Stephen Bay somehow gets into the 2. He was very much involved in a lot of things in this game. He had a lot of the football, 23 touches and 12 marks, 6 intercept marks, which is what got him the rating points. He also had a few blues, including a costly turnover that gave Collingwood a goal in that 4th quarter. Christian Petrarca sneaks in for the 1 with his 28 touches. That's pretty much everything for that game. We'll jump into the other Friday night game. And this was a crucial one for Collingwood as well, because Port Adelaide sneak home over the Gold Coast Suns to say goodbye to Ken Hingley and Travis Boak in what is a fascinating win, and one that puts Gold Coast just on the little bit of the back foot. They were pretty much looking like a top 4 team up until this result, and now all of a sudden the best they can do is 7 or 8. That is crazy. So how did this happen? Who knows? But the score worm tells you that it was pretty close, and Gold Coast led most of the way through the first half. They were 15 points up at halftime before Port Adelaide literally kicked one in the first 5 seconds, just about. 20 seconds into the 3rd quarter, Port Adelaide kicked the first. They edged their way back, got within a kick halfway through that 3rd quarter, took the lead late in the 3rd through a Connor Rose goal. My goodness, how good were Butters and Rose, as always. Gold Coast got the first of the last through Ben King. Looked like they might be able to steady it, but then the last bit was Port Adelaide, Georgiadis kicking a couple, and then Gold Coast wasting opportunities late. Port Adelaide holding on for that 4-point win. Team ratings, both teams rated really poorly. Port Adelaide 41.92, Gold Coast 39.43. Not the prettiest game of all time. It was certainly entertaining though. I didn't see much of it live. I only saw the last quarter live, and then obviously went back and watched the replay afterwards. But it was a fascinating game, and one that Gold Coast will be absolutely kicking themselves about, I think. If we're to look at the stats of this one, the team stats, that is first up. Disposal numbers pretty even across the board. Gold Coast actually had the better disposal efficiency. Also had 5 extra inside 50s, had the ball in their forward half more. Contested footy was pretty much level. Intercept game, dead level. Port Adelaide won clearances by 3. So it's a very even contest in a lot of ways here. 26 shots for Port Adelaide, 24 for Gold Coast. So even though it looks like Gold Coast kicked really poorly, 9 goals, 13, Port Adelaide did have 2 extra shots in this match. However, most expected score models have it pretty much dead level within a couple points either way. So maybe, just maybe, it was a flip of the coin this game, and that's pretty much how it ended up, I think. In the end, it was probably the Ken and Travis factor that got Port Adelaide across the line. Transition numbers pretty low across the board for both teams. Scoring from stoppages, 16 apiece, so not great there. It was turnover 55 to 51 in favour of Port Adelaide. From the defensive half, Gold Coast nudged their way in front there, 34 to 28, but forward half, Port Adelaide 36 to 27. You look at all the team stats and it's very close across the board, which basically just tells you that it was a really close contest. One that Port Adelaide probably should have been showing this sort of form earlier in the year, and maybe, just maybe, they would have been a little bit closer, but sometimes it takes like the retirement of one of your star players and your coach to psych you up, I guess. But a win nonetheless for Port Adelaide. One that didn't mean much in terms of ladder position, so it didn't matter too much. And yeah, certainly hurt Gold Coast season because they were looking at top 4 and an away qualifying final and at least one home final. Worst case scenario, 5th or 6th on the ladder. Now the best they can do is 7th or 8th, and they're going to be travelling away for a elimination final that is not going to be easy, going to either Fremantle or Sydney for GWS. So not going to be easy for the Suns in their first ever final, provided they beat the Bombers, of course, this week. We can't just say that they're definitely in finals because they're not. But we'll see how that plays out. Wednesday night. But yeah, not the best result from Gold Coast Suns in this game is basically the long and the short of it. Player stats, Brownlow votes first up. Zach Butters, I think, gets the 3. He was outstanding. 35 touches, 8 intercepts, 5 clearances. Really good game as always. 14 contested possessions. Absolute bull throughout most of the game. Connor Rose, I've given the 2 votes to. He also had plenty of the football, 34 touches, 6 clearances, kicked a goal. Miller, we've given the 1 vote to. He had 20 touches, 3 clearances. He was important when it mattered most for Gold Coast. But it could also go to Mitch Georgiadis as well, in all honesty. MVP votes for the winning team. Zach Butters was the highest rated. He gets the 10. We went through his numbers already. 8 goes to Mitch Georgiadis. He had 15 touches, 2 contested marks, kicked 4 goals, 1, including 2 goals in that last quarter. Connor Rose gets the 6 votes. 4 to Darcy Byrne-Jones, who got a clutch rundown tackle that might have saved him the game. Willem Drew gets the 2 votes for his performance. He had 21 touches in this game. For the losing team, the Gold Coast Suns, Braden Fiorini is their highest rated player. He had 27 touches, 8 intercepts in this game. Jared Witts, he gets 4 votes. His numbers, he dominated the ruck battle, in all honesty, with John Sweet. He was definitely the best ruckman on the ground. John Noble gets the 3 votes. He had 27 touches. As we said, Miller gets the 2 votes. And Will Powell, he sneaks in for a 1 vote for the Gold Coast Suns for his 21 touches, 8 intercepts. A good performance from him. Port Adelaide season, that is it. That is a wrap on their season. So not a great season for them. We'll be doing team reviews on all the teams eliminated over the next couple of weeks on YouTube. So go check them out. But for now, that's the end for Port Adelaide. Gold Coast, as we said, they have a big game against the Bombers on Wednesday, which is a win or go home game. And then if they win it, they're going to go to either WA for Fremantle or NG Stadium for GWS. So we'll see how that plays out for the Suns on Wednesday. Moving on to Saturday football, it was North Melbourne Adelaide first up. Another game that I didn't see live because I was at the AFLW game between Collingwood and GWS at this time. But North put up a big fight. Stayed pretty close all the way through. Adelaide did lead pretty much from pillar to post, but I think it was only the first minute or so that North actually led, but they stayed within striking range throughout most of it. The only time it looked like it was blowing out was early in the second, when Adelaide kicked like the first 4 of the second quarter to extend it out to about a 5-goal lead. And then also early in the fourth as well, they kicked the first couple to extend it out to it once again, the biggest lead of the match, which was almost 40 points. But then the Kangaroos just came home really well, kicked 4 in a row straight after that and ended up with the last one as well. So it ends up being a 13-point margin, a little bit tighter than Adelaide probably would have liked. But at the end of the day, there's more important things for them to play for right now. And with this win, they lock up the minor premiership, their first one since 2016. 2017. Sorry, definitely 2017. So a solid performance. They did what they needed to. Kangaroos finished the season pretty decent. Certainly not their worst performance. Gives them a little bit of positives to go into the off season with. Team ratings: Adelaide a 43.21, North Melbourne 39.7. So a little bit low for Adelaide standards, but at the end of the day, they get the 4 points. That's more so what matters here. Team stats for this one, the important numbers behind the Crows getting the win. North Melbourne actually had a lot of the football. They had plus 63 disposals in this game. They also had plus 4 inside 50s. Collingwood. Adelaide had greater time in their forward line. North Melbourne dominated contested football. Is that Adelaide putting it in cruise control right before finals? Potentially, but 142 contested possessions for North Melbourne is outrageously high, and a really good performance there from them. They also dominated clearances, plus 19, 48 to 27. That's actually plus 21. Don't mind my math. And they intercepts, though, were Adelaide's favour, plus 9. They've been a good intercept team throughout most of the year, and this was no different. North Melbourne actually had more shots in this game, 30 to 28, extra 2 shots. In the end, North Melbourne lost, but expected score suggests that they could have won this one by anywhere up to a couple goals. So a little bit disappointing of a way to finish for North Melbourne. They could have got an extra win here. Not that it would have mattered too much, I don't think, but maybe they didn't want to win it. Who knows? Because a win would have put them ahead of Essendon on the ladder. So maybe they were trying to avoid that. But they played really good football. Some of their better football that they've played this year, in all honesty. Stoppages is where Kangaroos dominated. They dominated the numbers from clearances, but they also dominated scoring, 66 to 32. Stoppages, especially centre bounce, is North Melbourne's go-to this year. There's no doubt about it. That is their best avenue to scoring. And this was another case of that. But Adelaide dominated turnover game, 74 to 34, plus 40 points. Did it from the defensive half too. North Melbourne kept pace in the forward line, 53 to 52. But defensive half, they were outscored by 25 points. And that is your difference, basically, right there. Jumping into Brownlow votes, Tristan Cherry was, I think, clearly best on ground. He was absolutely outstanding. 25 touches in this one. An absolute bull. 7 clearances. Great game from him. 2 votes I've given to Riley Thilthorpe. This will be interesting to see how the votes go. He kicked 3 goals too. He was involved in a lot of scores. Played a really big game again. He's just playing a really good role at the moment for this Adelaide Football Club. I think clearly their most important player in that forward half of the ground. And I've given 1 vote to James Peatling. He only had 19 touches, but he was crucial as well. 3 goals, as well as, I think, a couple goal assists, if I'm remembering correctly. He played really well. One of his best games as a Crow. Maybe one of his better games he's had all up. But very good performance from him. Jumping into MVP votes for the winning team, Rory Laird was their highest rated player. He gets the 10 votes. He had 23 touches and kicked a goal as well. 8 goes to Ben Keys. He kicked a few goals from his 19 touches. James Peatling, we've gone through his numbers. He gets 6. Riley Thilthorpe gets the 4. Riley O'Brien gets the 2 votes. For the losing team, North Melbourne, Tristan Cherry was their highest rated player on the ground. He was outstanding. 4 votes goes to Luke Davies-Yanaki. He had 31 touches in this. His numbers continue to rise. Luke Parker, 27 touches and a goal. Jai Simpkin gets the 2 votes. He had 33 touches. Didn't do any scoreboard damage, but did have a few clearances, 4 intercepts. Mainly a variety of roles through it for him. And Cooper Trempalth gets the 1 vote in this one. Just the 11 touches, but all important. Kicked 3 goals throughout, which was the most important factor for him. that is a wrap on that game. We move on to the next game. And this was another weird sort of one. It was absolutely blown out in the first half. And then Richmond put up a decent fight in the second half. But Richmond go down 39 points to the Cats. Another game that I was at. Kind of regretted going to it because it was very unexciting football. But pretty good tune-up, I guess, in a way, for Geelong going into finals. Their real stuff starts now. Their last 6 weeks has just been in cruise control, and this was just another one of those. They win by 39 points. They wrap up second on the ladder, a home qualifying final at the MCG, which they will be hosting Brisbane Lions, a rematch of last year's prelim final, so that will be huge. We'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, first half, it was all over. 78-15 at halftime. And then the second half was a good performance, in all honesty, from the Tigers, who kicked 7-3 to 3-7 in that second half. Geelong certainly wasted opportunities throughout this game, kicking 14-19. Who would have thought that wouldn't be the worst kicking at goal this weekend? But, yeah. pretty much cruise control is basically the long and short of it. Team rating 47.48 for Geelong, a 41.99 for the Tigs. Jumping into some team stats in this one, the important numbers that we must find out. Richmond actually ended up with more of the ball, plus 17 disposals, is a wild stat. They were also only down 1 in inside 50s, even though Geelong had 54% forward half time. Contested football was won by Richmond, plus 4. Intercept game was where Geelong probably won the game, plus 13 intercepts. They just really looked after the ball really well, Geelong, only turning it over 55 times. 30 clearances apiece, so clearance game was pretty level. Plus 12 shots for Geelong, 34-22. They were expected to win. They played like that. They dominated the first half. They absolutely controlled the game at halftime. The second half was controlled by Richmond. But I think that was Geelong just putting the cue in the rack. Scoring-wise, it was all turnover games. So stoppage was 23-22 in favour of Geelong, but it was turnover 74-35. When Geelong are on, that is how they score best. Defensive half, 49-47 in favour of Geelong. Forward half scoring, though, 6 goals, 11-47 for Geelong to 1-4-10 for the Tigers. There's your difference. Forward half and turnover basically sums it up. Brownlow votes could go a lot of ways in this game. I've got Jeremy Cameron 3. He was involved in a lot of things. He had 10 shots at goal, 4 goals, 4. He had a lot of score involvements. I think 12 maybe. I might have made that number up. But he played really well, 3 votes. 2, I've gone Dion Prestia. I think he was Richmond's best. He had 29 touches, 2 goals. And 1 vote to Bailey Smith. He had 34 touches in this one. 12 of those contested, 5 intercepts, 7 clearances. Played a really good game. MVP votes for the winning team, Geelong. 10 goes to Max Holmes. Maximum Holmes had 26 touches, played another really good game, and has had a really good season. Jeremy Cameron, he wrapped up. I mean, he already had the Coleman wrapped up, but he finished the season with another 4. I think that meant that he ended up with the most amount of goals in a home and away season since Buddy Franklin kicked the 100 back in 2008. Bailey Smith gets the 6 votes here. Tom Stewart gets the 4. He played a good intercept game, had 9 of them for the match from his 23 disposals. And 2 votes goes to the other Tom. This one, Atkins. I think it was his 150th game as well. He played that typical Tom Atkins role, in and under. Tough stuff from him. For the losing team, Richmond, 5 votes goes to Dion Prestia. As we said, he was really good. 4 to Sam Banks, who played a good game throughout most of it. He had 30 disposals to be one of their bigger ball winners in the game. 4, I don't know where I've got B Hopper from, but it's definitely J Hopper, Jacob Hopper. 29 touches he had. 13 of those contested. Played a bit of clearance work, mainly inside mid, as he usually is. Jaden Short, off the half-back line, he got plenty of the ball. He gets 2 votes, and the final vote goes to Ben Miller. who played a good game. I don't think there's too much else to go through from this game. Obviously, Richmond's season is done. They finished second last on the ladder, ahead of West Coast. And Geelong, they finished second top of the ladder, securing that home qualifying final. There was one more game on Saturday, and this was another weird one because it looked for the first quarter that West Coast were going to cause an upset, and then they ended up getting thrashed. Is basically the long and the short of it. I don't know what else to say about the game, really. West Coast, really good early, kicked the first few goals. Sydney got one just right on quarter time through Hayden McLean, just to give them something at quarter time, down 13 at that point. Second quarter, Sydney got going early, and then West Coast got it going middle, and then Sydney got it going again. West Coast still held a 7-point lead at halftime. They've led at halftime quite a few times this year against teams that are well above them. So there was definitely Collingwood, there was definitely Adelaide, and there was now Sydney as well. So that's at least 3 times leading at halftime. So maybe they're not as far off as we believe. Maybe they are. Who knows? We'll find out a lot. They only managed 1 point in the third quarter, though. Meanwhile, the Sydney Swans did what they did last year and just turned it on out of nowhere. They kicked 6-2 in the third quarter. Absolute domination from the start of that third quarter, and it was just all the way through. And then in the final quarter, West Coast got the second goal after a Tom Papley goal, and then it was just an onslaught again. 7 goals, 3 in that final quarter to 1 goal, 2. Second half was 13-5 to a 1 goal, 3. So an absolute domination in the second half after a competitive first half from the Eagles. Team ratings 38.73 for West Coast, which is pretty similar to their usual sort of numbers. Sydney a 48.86. Looking at the team stats for this one, no surprise that Sydney kind of dominated the stat sheet in the end. Plus 60 odd disposals, absolute domination of disposal efficiency, 77 to 72. Plus 16 inside 50s. Ball was in the forward half for the Swans, almost 56% of game time. Intercepts were pretty much level. West Coast actually had the 1 extra intercept. Sydney had the extra 4 clearances. Shots was the big difference though. 31 shots for Sydney, 16 for the Eagles. That's a pretty big discrepancy, 15 shots. Basically double the amount of shots. So no surprise that the expected score is pretty similar to what the actual result was. Scoring-wise, Sydney got 2 goals from kick-ins, which is a good result. 35 to 19 from stoppage, and dominated the turnover game, 71 to 32. So even though the actual turnover game was very similar for both teams, in raw numbers, the scoring from turnover was a massive difference in favour of the Sydney Swans. Defensive half was good from Sydney, 52 to 28. Forward half, though, was where they dominated, 47 to 17. West Coast just not converting from that forward half scoring opportunities. 19 to 6 from centre bounce. It was just West Coast. Sydney second half domination is basically the long and the short of it. Brownlow votes, I've gone 3 to Tom Papley. He was really, really good. He kicked 3 goals, 1. He had 27 disposals. Interesting sort of game. He did have 36% centre bounce attendance in this one, so did have a little bit more midfield time than usual. Isaac Heaney gets the Errol Goulden, gets the 2 votes. Gone the wrong way around. He had 36 touches and 2 goals. He was outstanding. And 1 vote to Isaac Heaney. He had 26 touches, 1 goal, 2. I think those 3 were your best 3 players. I think they're the 3 that get the votes. Could the order change? Absolutely. We'll see how the umpires see it. But that's the way I've gone with. It could definitely go any way of those 3, though. MVP votes for the winning team. Tom Papley, 10 votes. Isaac Heaney, 8 for his, 6 for Errol Goulden. Tom McCartan gets the 4 votes. A really solid game. 14 intercepts throughout this one. including 4 intercept marks, 22 disposals, so had plenty of it as well. Nick Blakey played a good game, 20 touches. Not quite as many intercepts, just the 5, but solid game from him. For the Eagles, Matt Flynn won the ruck duel with Brodie Grundy and may have just ruined Brodie Grundy's chances of being All-Australian ruckman in the process. A good game from him. Tom Cole gets the 4. He's been really good in the second half of the season, I believe. 20 disposals. Tim Kelly, he started to get his season going as well. He had 24 touches. Jack Graham, he gets the 2 votes. He's had a good last couple of weeks. And Sandy Brock sneaks in for the 1 vote. A really, really solid game from him down back. That's everything for that. Both teams are a wrap on the season. West Coast wrap up the wooden spoon. Most ever losses in a season by one team. Obviously, now that we play 23 games instead of 22, that we did for many years, and obviously before that, less than that. But still, first ever team to lose 22 matches in a season. Just the 1 win. It was basically a disaster from pretty early on. They copped a lot of injuries, but at the end of the day, they just weren't good enough to win many games of football. And just as well, they got that one mid-season against St Kilda. Is basically the long and the short of it. Sydney, they left too much work to do. They obviously look a lot better with Errol Goulden out there, so once he came back, he did obviously improve their team quite a bit, but at the end of the day, they just didn't win enough games early season. They lost quite a few close ones, certainly winnable games. I think back to Brisbane early season when they lost by 4 points. I think that was round 1. Even the opening round against Hawthorn, they lost it by 20, but they were well and truly in that in the last quarter until the last couple minutes. So what could have been? They finished 10th on the ladder, and yeah, they played a lot better football in that second half of the season. That's a wrap on that game. We'll jump into Sunday games now. Alrighty, there were 3 games of football on Sunday. This is the first of them. It was GWS St Kilda, NG Stadium. GWS looking to wrap up a home elimination final. If they had won by about 130 odd points, maybe they could have had a qualifying final result, but that wasn't to be. It was pretty obvious pretty early that wasn't going to be the case. They did kick the first 4 goals of the match and look really good early. Before St Kilda kind of fought their way back through into the game in that second quarter, actually took the lead by a point throughout the last 10-15 minutes of the second quarter. Before third quarter came around, it was to and fro. Once again, at 3-quarter time, St Kilda still held the 1-point lead. It was a pretty eventful final quarter, to be honest. GWS kicked the first one to take the lead through Toby Green before 3 goals in a row went the way of St Kilda. Darcy Wilson, Max Hall, and then Darcy Wilson again gave the Saints a 10-point lead about 10 minutes into that final quarter. Then the Giants got the next 3. Toby Green and Callum Brown went bang, bang. And then a few minutes later, about 8 minutes later, in fact, Tom Green gets a goal. St Kilda got one back through Max Hall, and then Darcy Jones finished it off to give Giants an 11-point win and secure themselves a home elimination final. Huge result for the Giants. They obviously had to wait for other results to know exactly where they were going to finish, but by the end of Sunday, they found out that they were going to be hosting an elimination final, which is huge for them. A fascinating game. Team rating 47-7 for the Giants, 42-7-4 for the Saints. So that suggests that the Giants were actually quite decent in this game. They just didn't put the Saints away. Certainly early in that, throughout most of that first quarter, in fact, it looked like the Giants were going to run away with it. They were 27 to a couple points throughout, at about the 15-18 minute mark of that first quarter. From that point on, though, Saints certainly played some decent football and were right in it right till the end. Had a chance. Looking at the key stats in this one, Giants had 40 extra disposals, which is not typically the way that they play football or St Kilda play football. St Kilda tend to be more of the high disposal team, whereas the Giants do not tend to play that way too often this season. Inside 50s +4 for St Kilda, so they had their opportunities. Contested football went the way of the Giants. Intercepts went the way of the Giants, +3. Clearances went +5. As we said earlier, not too often do you lose matches of football if you win intercepts and clearances. Giants did their best here, but they held on. They had an extra 6 shots for the match, converting 15 out of 31 shots, compared to St Kilda's 14 goals from 25. So St Kilda's certainly the more accurate team on the day. Wasn't quite enough to get them over the line. Transition numbers, Giants typically pretty good in the transition numbers, and overall probably went St Kilda's way, in all honesty, outside of chain to score, which went the Giants' way. Defensive 50 to forward 50, defensive 50 to score, defensive half to forward 50, and defensive all went the way of St Kilda over GWS in this one. Stoppage scoring is where the Giants did a bulk of their damage, 64 to 34, whereas turnover St Kilda controlled 52 to 40, even though they had less intercepts than GWS. They did outscore them in that facet, but the clearances, 5 extra clearances for an extra 30 points for the Giants. So that's a big difference there. Forward half scoring, 1 point in it. Defensive half scoring, 5 points in favour of the Saints, but it was centre bounce. The Giants won it from 4 goals, 3, 27 to 2 goals straight, 12. Fascinating stats and numbers there. Brownlow votes, I've gone 3 to Tom Green, I've gone 2 to Darcy Wilson, and 1 to Toby Green. I think they're the best 3 players on the ground, in all honesty. We'll see how it plays out on Brownlow night, but that's how I saw it. MVP votes for the winning team. Toby Green gets the 10 for the highest rated player on the All Aussie Rules rating system. He had 17 disposals, 4 goals, huge moments from him, and he played really well. 8 goes to Lachie Whitfield. He had plenty of the football, 31 touches, 10 intercepts, so a really good defensive game from him. Tom Green gets the 6. We did give him the 3 Brownlow votes. He had 33 touches with 13 clearances and a goal. Kieran Briggs gets the 4 votes for the Giants. 17 disposals in this one. He was big all day in the ruck. Both ruckmen, the key ruckman for both teams, playing very well, in all honesty. 2 votes to Harry Himmelberg, who's had a really good second half of the year, in my opinion. 21 touches, 12 marks and a goal. For the Saints, Darcy Wilson, potentially his best game as a Saint. Best game in the AFL, I should say. Was really good. 23 touches, kicked 5 goals. Really, really good effort from him, as well as 11 contested possessions. I think he deserves at least a Brownlow vote, and he certainly was their best player. Rowan Marshall, he's next best. 21 touches, 9 clearances, 4 votes. Jack Sinclair, he gets the 3 votes for his 34 touches, so he had plenty of it. Max Hall, he gets the 2 votes, 16 touches, 2 goals, and Nashaya Wangani-Malira sneaks in for the 1 vote. 23 touches, 0-3 from 4 shots. He could have been the difference if he had converted his opportunities, but wasn't to be. Giants win, Saints end their season with a loss. So yeah, that's the end of the season for the Saints. Not their best season of all time, that's for sure. A bit disappointing, certainly, the start of the season. I think they played some better football in that second half of the year. They go down here. It didn't mean much to them, this match, probably, other than wrapping up the season. They finished 12th on the ladder, end up below Carlton because Carlton won and they lost. They put together some good form late in the year, but it wasn't to be. Meanwhile, the Giants, they wrap up a home elimination final. They finish 5th on the ladder at the end of the season. At the time of this result, that wasn't confirmed, but it is now officially. They'll be hosting one of multiple teams next week, so the week after. So we'll see how that plays out. But it certainly puts them in a solid enough position. Potentially, you'd have to think probably, not definitely, probably playing Hawthorn. That'll be fascinating. Fascinating game of that one up at NG Stadium. Yeah, that's a wrap on that game. We'll jump into the next one on Sunday, which was the Bulldogs v Fremantle. This was at Marvel Stadium. It was basically an elimination final. Winner goes through, loser all but eliminated, depending on what happens with Gold Coast on Wednesday. But another game where there was just ebbs and flows. Not as many as other games, but a really, really weird second quarter. Just threw this game into chaos for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs came out pretty well in that first quarter. I felt like they were on top. They led by 15 points at quarter time, and they weren't dominating, but they certainly looked like they were in some sort of control of the match. But after quarter time, Fremantle came out and absolutely blitzed them in that second quarter. They kicked 7-2 to 0-3 and basically put the Bulldogs to the sword by halftime. 26 points, not all over, but certainly in a bit of a dangerous spot for the Bulldogs there. Poor kicking in front of goal certainly hurt the Dogs. They were 4-8 at halftime to 9-4 for Fremantle, but third quarter was a bit of to and fro, goal for goal sort of stuff, and the margin at three-quarter time was still that 5-goal margin, basically 32 points. Freo then kicked the first two of the last quarter, which in the end is probably the difference just about. Patrick Voss and Tracy, because the Bulldogs did come as I guess we kind of felt like was going to happen, but it was too little too late, because by this point they're 7 goals back and needed a miracle. They did come. Bontempelli was huge all day. Baker got one, Croft got one, Freo got a couple here and there, but Bulldogs just kept coming. When Fraser kicked one 29 minutes into the last quarter, I think there was roughly like 4 minutes to go, give or take, and it was, 15-point margin, so 3 goals still to win, but still possible. Might have only been 3 minutes to go. Anyway, it was 3-4 minutes to go, and 3 goals required, and then pretty much straight away, Freo just got the transition goal through Luke Jackson, and then that was all she wrote. Joel Fraser did kick another one, but Fremantle win. They go through to the finals, and Bulldogs have to rely on Essendon beating Gold Coast if they want and take any part in September. It's out of their hands now, and they will be bitterly disappointed with that, I think. Team rating, Fremantle 48.35, Bulldogs 45.04, suggests that Fremantle were the better team on the day, as the scoreboard says. A look at the team stats in this one, the important stuff. Where the game was won and lost, Bulldogs actually had an extra 26 touches, but Fremantle got that extra 3 inside 50s. Contested football went the way of the Doggies, plus 16. Intercepts was pretty level, 65 to 64 in favour of Fremantle. Clearances was dominated by the Doggies, 42 to 33, so plus 9 for the Dogs in that facet of the game. Shots in the end was 32 to 29 in favour of Fremantle, so they did end up with more shots than the Dogs. So even though the poor accuracy from the Dogs did certainly hurt them, you could also argue that Fremantle created more opportunities. 17 goals from their 32 shots compared to 14 goals from 29 shots for the Bulldogs. Ended up, expected scores all suggest that Fremantle were the winners. Anything else worth noting? Transition numbers pretty even across the board, in all honesty. Fremantle got 2 goals from kick-ins. They actually did pretty well from the back half throughout this game. That was noticeable live and noticeable on the stat sheet. 75 to 54 from the back half. That's a lot of scoring from the defensive half. The Doggies just couldn't stop them. Just could not stop them from converting easy opportunities out the back, really. Scoring from stoppages was plus 6 points for the Bulldogs. We noted that they dominated clearance numbers only equated to 6 extra points in scoring, whereas Fremantle plus 17 from turnover in scoring. So there you go. Forward half was pretty even. Centre bounce, there wasn't a lot to be said about it, but it was all just that defensive half scoring. 12 goals, 3 is a huge return from the defensive half from Fremantle. Brownlow votes, I think you have to give the 3 to Bontempelli. I know they lost, but my goodness gracious me, was he good in this game. He ended up with 33 touches, 18 of them contested, 9 inside 50s, 11 clearances, 7 marks, 2 goals. Just an absolute dominant display by the best player in the competition. He is so good, and he was so good again in this one. It wasn't good enough to get them over the line, but he played a really good game of football. 2 votes I've given to Caleb Sarong. It's arguable that there's about 8 players from Fremantle that were all pretty good in this game. Shea Bolton, I've given the 1 vote to. Moving on to MVP votes for the winning team. Bolton, I've given the 10. He was their highest rated player. 19 touches, 2 goals. Had a lot of centre bounce attendances, almost 40, or exactly 46% of them. Was really good early, was really good throughout most of the game. 8 goes to Josh Tracy. He played really well up forward, kicked 3 goals, important throughout most of the match, especially as a target for them. Bailey Banfield, he gets 6 votes in this one. He was good, 20 touches for him, 8 marks, 1 intercept mark, 6 intercepts total. Paddy Voss gets 4, he's probably their second key forward these days. Really good 3 goals from him as well, including a little bit of clutch stuff late. Neil Erasmus finished his home and away season well. He's had a good couple games over the last few weeks. 20 touches in this one, 6 clearances, really good performance. For the losing team, as we said, Bontempelli was an absolute star. He gets the 5. Joel Frazier gets the 4. Ends up with 3 goals, 2 of them really late. But he was good throughout the game with 18 touches, couple intercepts. Tim English in the ruck played well against the dual ruckman of Fremantle. I think he was probably the best ruckman on the ground. He played a pretty good game. 2 to Riley West, started really well, kicked 2 goals in that first quarter. Looked like he was on for a big one, quietened up a little bit. Still had 17 touches, 2 goals for the game, so he was pretty solid. Oscar Baker, he was involved in a lot. He had a couple key moments, some that worked, some that didn't. Kicked a goal, 20 touches, gets 1 vote. So Bulldogs season potentially probably done for the year, which they'll be gutted with. The amount of good players, star players that they have on this list to not be playing finals is a big, big loss for them. Interestingly, that they didn't play Adam Treloar in this one, coming back from injury. He went and dominated VFL the other day. I think he had 40 touches and a heap of clearances, and who knows whether it would have made a difference or not in this game, but interesting nonetheless. Fremantle, they are playing finals. They host an elimination final. Potentially going to be Gold Coast. Maybe. We'll see how that actually plays out on Wednesday, but that's probably the most likely matchup that they have at the moment. That'll be a fascinating one. Fremantle, Gold Coast over in the West for Gold Coast's first ever finals match. Will be interesting to see how that plays out. But that is a wrap on that game. We've got one more that was on Sunday night, and boy, oh boy, was this a fascinating game. The Lions sneak across the line in one of the most inaccurate kicking displays you'll ever see. They kick 11-23-89 to 11-13-79 for the Hawks. 10-point winners. I don't know what else to say about this game, really, other than that. What have we got? What have we got? We go... And so the game started Hawthorn pretty well, in all honesty. Brisbane wasted opportunities, especially early. They missed quite a few. But the Hawks did all the damage through Chol in that first quarter. He kicked their first 3 goals, and the only 3 goals of the first quarter. It was 3-3 to 0-8 for the Brisbane Lions at quarter time. Second quarter, they decided to kick straight. They kicked 6 goals to Brisbane in the second quarter to take a slight 5-point lead at half time. They then did a really good start to the third quarter, kicking a couple quick ones after just to extend it out to about 20 points and make it look like they were going to kick straight again. But then all of a sudden, they just got the yips in front of goals again. So I think they ended up kicking 2 goals 17, I think, to one end of the ground. 2 goals 17 to 9 goals 6 going the other way. I don't know what it was with that end of the ground, but Brisbane just could not kick straight going that way. They were 8 goals 19 at three-quarter time. They should have been at least 5 goals up at three-quarter time. Instead, they were just 11 points. And then final quarter was fascinating. It was pretty close, especially midway through that quarter. Jack Ginnivan kicked a goal, did the Superman celebration to get him within a kick halfway through that quarter. An interesting free kick went the way of Brisbane to give Bruce Revel a goal from the boundary. And then Rayner got one straight after that. Nick Watson got one back for the Hawks, but it was all too little too late as Brisbane held on. 10-point winners. That wraps up top 4 spot for them. They will be travelling down to Melbourne for Geelong in a qualifying final in a week and a half. Meanwhile, Hawthorn, they have to wait and find out where they will finish because they just don't know yet. They guaranteed finals. There's no doubt about that. It's just going to be a matter of whether they finish 7 or 8, on the ladder. They'll either be playing GWS at NG Stadium, probably their most likely matchup, or they'll be playing Fremantle over in the West. So that's their 2 opportunities, 2 options that they have. Pretty much similar finish to last year on the ladder in terms of position for them. Brisbane slightly higher. Last year, obviously, winning the premiership from 5th. This year, they get it done. Well, they haven't won the premiership yet, but they certainly make the top 4. Some key stats in this one. Brisbane outrated Hawthorn massively, 48-5-2, 42-8-9. No real surprise when you look at the shots and the inability to convert. They certainly played better, I think, throughout most of this game. Just wasted opportunities. Team stats, plus 50 disposals for Brisbane, plus 8 inside 50s. Ball was in the Brisbane forward half 55% of the game time, plus 13 contested football, plus 10 intercepts, plus 8 clearances. Just most stats were the way of the Lions. Plus 10 shots, 34 shots to 24. Both teams kicked 11 goals. So less than 33% accuracy from Brisbane. 11 goals from 34 shots is despicable. You're not going to win too many games kicking that poorly in front of goal. So they got out of jail with this one. Hawthorn, 11 goals from 24 shots. Also not spectacular, slightly under 50%, but you just have to do better than that, I think. And that's probably what saved Brisbane, was the fact that Hawthorn went slightly under 50%. So expected score, depending which expected score you look at, but the one I usually use is Brisbane winning this by about 50 points. So make of that what you will. They did have 10 extra shots. I think Brisbane clearly have the wood on Hawthorn at the moment, in my eyes at least. They've beaten them reasonably comfortably both times. I know this was only 10 points, but they certainly outplayed them. Transition numbers certainly looked better for Brisbane than for Hawthorn. Scoring from stoppages, even though Brisbane went plus 8 in clearances, ended up level in scoring. 4 goals 9 to 5, 33. Turnovers, Brisbane outscored them slightly, 6-14 to 4-9. Defensive half, Hawthorn actually scored better from the defensive half, even though then transition numbers were lower than Brisbane from the defensive half. They did score pretty well, 6-7, 43 to 5-5, 35. And from the forward half, Brisbane was where they could have dominated this game. Instead, they wasted their opportunities, kicking 4 goals, 17 from forward half opportunities to 4-5. So that's your difference. Could have been a lot more. Imagine if that was 17-4. I know that's a big stretch, but an extra 60 points for the Lions would have been huge. Brownlow votes. Interesting how this will play out, I think. I've gone Hugh McCluggage 3, Josh Dunkley 2, and Carl Lamont 1 vote. MVP votes for the winning team. Hugh McCluggage gets the 10. Josh Dunkley gets the 8. Cam Rayner. Oh, I should be telling you their stats. I haven't been doing that in this game. What am I doing? McCluggage had 32 touches. 13 of those contested 2 goals. Josh Dunkley was big as well. 33 touches. Did miss 2 shots at goal, but 9 marks. 16 contested possessions. Was very good. Cam Rayner was clutch late. He was clutch throughout. I think he had a pretty quiet first quarter, but he really got going. 22 touches, 2 goals, 2. 3 clearances as well, 2 intercepts. Was very good. Harris Andrews did what Harris Andrews does best. 18 touches, 8 intercepts. Really good game from him. And Will Ashcroft gets the 2 votes for this one. 28 touches. A really good performance from him. For Hawthorn, Carl Lamont arguably could have been best on ground. His first 3 quarters was outstanding. He had 34 touches, 8 intercepts, 2 clearances. 4 to Jack Ginnivan, had plenty of the football, 23 touches, kicked a couple goals, including one in the last quarter. Dylan Moore, he gets the 3 votes in this one. He had 17 touches and a goal. Mabal Cho had that dominant first quarter, went a bit quiet after that, just 9 touches, 3 goals, all 3 of those in the first quarter. And Jarman Impey, 20 touches, 8 intercepts in this one, had a solid game. That's a wrap on all the games. We're now going to just do a little rundown of what that means for September. So stick around. We're not quite done with this episode yet. Let's jump into what that means, where we're at in terms of this season. Obviously, we know the 2 qualifying finals. There's no doubt about that. We know that. I've got to click the right buttons. It's obviously Adelaide, Collingwood, and it's obviously Geelong, Brisbane. They're the 2 qualifying finals that we have coming up. I'll just get rid of that so we know what we're talking about. So they're the 2 qualifying finals. It's the elimination finals that are yet to be determined. Basically, the long and the short of it is Gold Coast lose. They will not be playing finals, and the 2 elimination finals will be GWS v the Bulldogs and Fremantle v Hawthorn. That is probably the least likely result. I think Gold Coast are most likely going to win this game of football. If they win it by roughly 4 goals or less, it will be Giants hosting Gold Coast and Fremantle hosting Hawthorn. I think that's probably, if I was to guess, 30% chance, maybe. If Gold Coast win by 4 or 5 goals or more, then it will be GWS hosting Hawthorn and Fremantle hosting Gold Coast in those elimination finals. So they're your 3 scenarios. They're your 3 options of what could happen in this final round. I think that's the most likely one, is Gold Coast win by 5 goals or more. I know they haven't played the best football, certainly on the weekend. But Essendon don't have a lot to play for. But maybe they throw caution to the wind. They can't go up on the ladder. They would need to win by 300 points to go up on the ladder. Not exactly 300, but close enough. So I think, in all honesty, it shapes up as, who does Gold Coast want to play? I don't think they can really dodgy the result up too much, because you don't want to risk losing it and missing out on finals. So I think the most likely option is Gold Coast win by more than 5 goals. But I just don't know which way I want it to go, in all honesty. Who would they rather play? Fascinating option. Just worth noting as well, if it was Gold Coast winning by more than 5 goals and they play Fremantle, the winner of that game would be playing. Sorry, the winner of that game would play the loser of the Geelong Brisbane game, and the winner of the Hawthorn GWS game would play the loser of the Adelaide Collingwood game. So fascinating matchups there in week 2, with Collingwood potentially playing either GWS or Hawthorn if they were to lose to Adelaide, or maybe a Q clash, Brisbane Gold Coast potentially, or Fremantle Brisbane, or Geelong against one of those. So there are plenty of options, and fascinatingly enough, if we get it the other way around and it's Gold Coast finishing 8th on the ladder, so if they were to lose by less than 5, then all of a sudden we would have the Expansion Cup in a final, GWS Gold Coast. That would be an interesting one, with the winner taking on the loser of Adelaide Collingwood, and would have Fremantle Hawthorn over in the West, with the winner of that playing the loser of Geelong Brisbane. So plenty of fascinating matchup possibilities throughout the final series, but week 1 I think is shaping up really quite nicely. That Thursday night fixture, Collingwood Adelaide, Friday night fixture, rematch of last year's prelim, and then both Saturday games, depending which way they go, will be fascinating as well. So that's what we've got coming up in September. Make sure you stick around. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below on what you believe will be the final matchups of the final series. Don't forget to come back on Thursday for the next episode of the podcast. That'll be our AFLW Round 3 preview and Round 2 review. And we will also have plenty of YouTube videos going up this week. We're going to have our All Oz teams going out on Wednesday, as I said. And then over the next 3-4 weeks, we're doing end-of-season reviews for every team as they get eliminated. They will probably start... I don't know when the first one will go out because it's going to depend on a few things. I've got to wait for the final game, obviously. But they will start going out within the next week, and we'll be rolling out one every day or two all the way through September. So make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube so you don't miss any of those videos. Hit up the socials. It's All Aussie Rules everywhere. My name's Jay. This has been another episode of the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed. Finals is just around the corner. Don't forget to come back next week, and we will be discussing all 4 of those big matchups in week 1 of the finals. Thank you. Catch you then.